And that is why this was the worst episode of NXT within the last couple of months. Thanks for tuning into the review, you guys. So let's do some housekeeping real quick. But we can't do that. We can't do that to our Iconics watchers out there. All right, let's do this. Hi, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another episode of the DDT Review, your weekly WWE NXT review team. I am El Jefe, I guess, around these parts. And I am joined this week by my lovely co-host, but I can't do this anymore, you guys. I can't try to fake it. Andrew and Will are with me. You know who they are at this point. Normally, I'm the optimistic one around here, but let's just get initial thoughts out of the way. We're here to review the NXT episode from Tuesday, March 19, 2024. And before we break it down bit by bit, gentlemen, this was bad. Holy crap, this was a bad show.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk, not a lot of show.
And it was a lot of stupid talk. I mean, I could have been like, okay, if it was like good talk, it wasn't even that. It was just like, okay, could have done without that. I'm never gonna get that 5 minutes back in my life. Good Lord. Yeah, I am Captain Rain on Your Parade. It was crap. It was crappy. The episode itself. There were some good matches in the episode, but the episode was crappy. It was stupid, as I told Mikey earlier. Stupid.
Yeah, it could have been half the length of show that it was.
Yeah, it could have been. Take out all the talking and it would have been.
It was like 80% of the show was promos, and I understand we're building towards Stand and Deliver, but pacing.
But this didn't even feel like a build to Stand and Deliver.
Oh my gosh.
Except for the fact that they mentioned it a couple of times. I mean, it was like, what does this have to do with Stand and Deliver? I'm like, wait. What is... I mean, literally, the whole time, I was just like, I don't understand what is this... What's this got to do with Stand and Deliver? You're talking about, we're building to Stand and Deliver, and I'm like, are you? Are you, though? Because I don't think you are.
Pretty much everything we got that was a build, we already knew was happening. Even if it wasn't official, we already knew. So there wasn't any excitement even in that stuff. It's like, ooh, just confirmed. Yeah, obviously. Like, what else were you gonna do?
Yeah, no. Color me surprised.
So I'm just gonna forewarn our watchers now. This is going to be a show that the three of us are going to rip to shreds. And normally we try to give the benefit of the doubt to a lot of the stuff we watch on NXT. But there are a lot of things this episode that all three of us unanimously agree on that are not best business practices. And just overall storytelling and booking is very not good. So, and this is coming from me, and I am a huge defender of NXT shenanigans. I have been here since the rebrand of 2.0 from the very beginning when we had, redact name here because of a certain documentary that came out on HBO. I don't want to give them publicity right now, but the slime colored, hit with a bunch of paint all over it rebrand of NXT. I have defended that period of NXT, which ostensibly was bad, but I wanted to be optimistic. But there's a lot of bad in this. There's like maybe one silver lining, and that has to do with nothing with Stand and Deliver, but just the pure shenanigans of certain character choices. Let me find my zen, because I can't be screaming and yelling. I gotta reserve that for other things, but yeah, buckle in, kids, because this is not a review for the faint of heart. So if you are not too keen on us ripping apart NXT and you are a hardcore fan like I am and you're not ready to hear us, that's okay. Skip to next week. Hopefully it will be better. But for the rest of you, strap in, kids, because it's about to be a wild ride. We opened NXT this week. We have a singles match, which lasted about 5 minutes. Roxanne Perez versus our lovely Tatum Tot Paxley. This is the match that I was most excited about in the bumpers last week because this is technically a grudge match. Tatum wants revenge against Roxanne for Roxanne hurting and breaking Lyra's arm in the process. So I was excited about it. I was like, all right, let's get a couple minutes. It was over in 5 minutes. I blinked and it was over.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we start?
I mean, I will say for what we got, it was basically a squash match, but I like what we got to see from Roxanne Perez. This was probably one of the highlights of the show for me because it was full exposure of what her character is now. And she did not let up, and it made her look super strong and dangerous. So, like, it had me looking at Stand and Deliver and going like, oh, she's gonna beat the crap out of Lyra Valkyria. So I was excited about that. That I was slowly dragged down the hill after this.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you, Andrew. For what we got, I liked it. Only because Roxanne is so darn good. Like, she is a prodigy, as her nickname was before she went full heel. She is the prodigy. I mean, come on, she's former Ring of Honor. She's the inaugural, and she was a former Ring of Honor Women's Champion. Like, not to say that you have to be a certain pedigree when being a Ring of Honor champion, but I mean, come on, look at the lineage that title has had over the last couple of years. She's in some good company, even though we're talking about WWE. And all the women that held that title. Well, actually, no, Mercedes Martinez was in WWE before they let her go, which was stupid. But anyways, this was fun. And then we got what happened afterwards. So Roxanne continues to beat up on Tatum, which I'm like, okay, cool. Makes total sense. Roxanne gets on the mic. She demands that Ava come out and do the right thing and, give Roxanne what she wants. But instead of Ava's music, Lyra's music hits. She comes out in a sling. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So where she's going to try to beat her up is like, we're going to see what happens. I get that we have to sell that Lyra is hurt, but this was more one-sided than I thought it was going to be. Roxanne decimated Lyra, and I was like, oh, that's not how you make your champion look. Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she whooped her up. I mean, that, hands down. And I mean, she is one-armed. I think it'd be smart to not let Lyra get into any more physical confrontations, so you can sell the idea that her arm is healing and you avoid any more attacks like this. So if she comes out victorious in Stand and Deliver, or at least looks strong, it makes her look like she came back. Like, this was too soon for her to try and fight. Tatum got in the way at one point, and that's what kind of, added to it. But yeah, I don't think you can have a similar thing like this happen the next couple of weeks before you get to Stand and Deliver if you want Lyra to look strong.
I'm very saddened, because normally I love NXT's women's division, but this made me really sad. And this made me sad. I don't know what else to say. I want to move on, but Will, do you have any thoughts?
No, I don't. I mean, seriously. I mean, I concur, and I thought, again, and I agree with you on all the rest of it. I mean, I thought, oh yay, Roxanne, we're gonna see some really good stuff from you, and we did, and I just, I thought her fighting Tatum was a waste of time. I mean, they're nowhere near evenly matched. So I was like, why waste Roxanne on Tatum? I love Tatum, don't get me wrong, but put somebody else who's like even with her, because then this match would have been way better. Because when it first started, I was like, oh yay, Roxanne. Okay, is it over yet? Because there was no challenge to it, and I literally thought, what a waste of talent. You want to showcase Roxanne, then put her up against somebody who could actually beat her.
I think the issue is that pretty much our other contenders are in the middle of doing something else, because I'm like, Blair is currently involved with Sol Ruka, which we're going to get talked about. I'm happy about Sol's return, and I'm excited that we're picking up where we left off, so that was a highlight. Kalani Jordan is involved with something else at the moment. Thea is involved in something else. There's a lot of your more rising women in the division that you could have used in this spot. I get why we use Tatum, but yeah, you can definitely tell there are levels to how much they are in the ring in terms of their ring prowess. Not to say that Tatum is bad, but
No,
Roxanne is on another level. She is a couple gears above. She literally is probably outside of Lyra and maybe Blair. She is probably the top 3 women's in the division right now for NXT. That's saying a lot because we got a lot of talent, but those are the 3 that I think are right now like actual long ring experience. Like these women can go. Everybody else is slowly getting there. Like I think given like another year or 2, I could see Fallon being in that conversation as well because she's improved a lot. Thea has improved a lot. But you need, outside of Lyra, there's nobody else, and Blair, there's nobody else who can match Roxanne in the technicality prowess of it.
then don't put her in a match.
Right. But, you know,
I mean,
NXT's gotta book her somehow.
No, I get it, but then book her somewhere else. I mean, do something else with her. No, seriously. I you know, and this is one of my biggest issues is when they do a match like this, and we're obviously building Roxanne to a big thing. We're obviously, because she's flipped, she's completely turned heel. We know we're building her to a big thing. So therefore, don't throw her in these throwaway matches. Because one, it doesn't do anything for her. It doesn't make her look any better or bad, you know, badassery or whatever. It doesn't. It's like, wow. Okay. We can see your technical stuff. Your technical stuff is great. But story-wise and impact-wise, there was nothing in this match. I mean, it wasn't. I thought it was a complete and utter waste of talent on Roxanne's part. I mean, yay for Tatum getting in there and fighting Roxanne. That's great. It's like, I just was like, oh, God. All right. What's next?
And this is gonna be a conversation for like an actual podcast episode. But one of my biggest pet peeves when we're building towards pay-per-views, you don't want the challenger and the champion you cross each other and their paths crossing, so to speak. So you book them to continue to get wins and momentum towards it, but then you book them in like matches that in the overarching plot are just there to get them wins and whatnot. The story connection is there for Roxanne to fight Tatum because Tatum is defending Lyra's honor. But even then, like, you just destroyed all that with what happened afterwards.
Yep.
I will say this made a lot more sense as far as one of those kind of matches because at least there is a connection with the story than say like our main event, which we'll get to later. But you know, it is. They so often do this where they're like, and it seems to always be the challenger. But hey, NXT, I'll give you credit. You're doing it with your champion too. And we'll get into that later too. But yeah, they do this a lot where they're like, the challenger needs to build up like momentum going into this like a championship match. But it's like, they have a championship match. They have momentum. They're the number 1 contender. You like, if you look at combat sports, you don't do that with the person who's the number 1 contender. Go like, oh, well, until your match comes up with this champion that we've already scheduled this match for, we're going to have you fight other people who are lower ranked than you are. It's like, no, you already have the momentum. You're already earned the shot. You don't have to go out and prove it. Like,
no.
So,
like, yeah. I agree. We know what you can do. We know you can do it. You don't have to show us. I agree with you. I totally agree. And then the whole Lyra thing at the end, I was like, why was that a choice? And I'm like, you literally just had your champion get her ass handed to her. And I'm like, you know, is this going to be one of those comeback things where you're going to like whoop Lyra down until she's basically like, you know, defeated within herself, and then she rises back up and stand and deliver? What the hell's going on? Because that was poor planning, or not poor planning. Well, yeah, poor planning, but I don't know.
But that's my concern going into stand and deliver, because I said this last week and I've been saying it as we were getting closer to stand and deliver. inevitably, all three of us knew that we were going to get Lyra and Roxanne. That's the only thing logically that made sense story-wise and what we've been told over NXT the last couple of weeks. Shoot, we've been telling the story since the end of what happened at Vengeance Day because of Lola cashing in her, breakout tournament contract. Roxanne never got the fair fight between her and Lyra, and so she's been working her way there. Roxanne has been so dominant in this feud so far, and the story that we've been telling. She has to win at Stand and Deliver, because if she does not, as a fan, it is a disservice to both of the women, the story you've been telling, but more importantly, I'm looking at it long term, and even though a lot of people don't want to admit they watch NXT, I was like, we see you. It's okay. You can say you like NXT. You don't got to be weird like that. But as a fan of NXT's overall product, if Roxanne doesn't win and it's not be a crazy fanatic, for the story to make sense, she has to win, because if Lyra somehow overcomes and beats Roxanne, it does nothing for Lyra. And for me personally, it destroys the story we've built to Stand and Deliver with this, with these two women. But more importantly, and looking at the longevity of it, you have destroyed the legacies that Roxanne and Lyra have built up so far in the last couple months. And more importantly, I love Lyra to death, but if she walks out of Stand and Deliver with that title still around her waist, I am so afraid that the NXT universe is going to turn on her so fast, because if she walks out of Stand and Deliver with that title beating Roxanne, I am so afraid that you're going to destroy Lyra's title reign that she's had so far, which has been kind of hit and miss with her opponents. But I feel that beating Roxanne would destroy what we've gotten so far in her title reign. And that scares me, because it's really hard to come back from that. It wins one booking mistake.
Well, and I think the bigger, mistake would be what you would do to Roxanne. I mean, it's made sense up to now why she hasn't won. There's been all of these things that have kept her from the title that she never lost, and all that kind of stuff. If she loses, then it's oh, well, now you have no more excuse. You weren't good enough. And that doesn't just knock her down to the second, third, fourth, fifth place. That knocks her down to the bottom of the rankings. And she has to win, because it is the right. I mean, we have another similar thing going on in the other shows of completing a story. And if you do that to Roxanne, where she doesn't win this title, you finished her story in the absolutely wrong way. I think it would be such a spit in the face for her to not win that match at Send and Deliver. It's almost one of those things where it's you're going to have to leave NXT and restart somewhere else, because if you don't win this, everything that you've said has just been talk. Up till now, you're okay, well, we can say you got injured, somebody else got involved, all these other things happened. But if you go in there and you lose, then you lost. It was true that you weren't good enough. So I think it would be a huge mistake.
I told you this was going to be a long one, ladies and germs, but we care about what we see on our television screen. So,
well, okay. If you want Roxanne to win this title, then they're going about it the wrong way, because making Lyra look weak is not the way you do it. Because now if they were to fight tomorrow and Roxanne wins, I would be disappointed. I would be pissed, because the way they left Lyra. It's you don't tear your champion down like that. You have to raise your champion up, because right now they're lowering the bar. And so even if Roxanne does win, it's a shitty win. And I'm just I want Roxanne to win. I want her to walk out with that title. But right now, I don't want her to win it, because I think they're doing it wrong. They're going about it the wrong way. You're tearing. Why are you tearing your champion down? Then it makes the victory cheap. Because then it's like, oh well, now Roxanne can defeat her because she's torn down. So she's not a challenge anymore. And see, and that's where, so in the next 2 weeks, something's got to switch. Lyra's got to come out and like do something. Because otherwise, again, you're going to go into Stand to Deliver with an already defeated champion.
That's where they need to take the next 2 weeks to let Lyra like recover from the injury. Because if she goes in with an injury, you're right. It's like you weaken
it's an empty victory.
Yeah. So,
and especially with someone like
that won't be fair for Roxanne. You know, she deserves to win it.
Defeated. Yeah.
So
sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Last thing I'll say about this before we move on with the rest of the show, because this is important. I think having Roxanne win with a hurt Lyra also kind of cheapens her as a wrestler and as a character, because we know Roxanne has all the capability in the world. I'd rather have her be a heel challenger, but be the heel that she has all the skills and she can back it up. I mean, we just talked about her before, we went on air, but have Roxanne be NXT's version of, the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. We know Roxanne has all the skills in her bag. Let her just be a good wrestler, and that's how you can have her be a heel.
Yeah.
Not that hard.
Agreed. I just don't want her to win by default. Or I don't want her to have an empty victory. I want her to go to Stand and Deliver, and I want Lyra to fight her ass off to keep that title, and Roxanne beats her. That's what I want. I don't want Lyra to come into that ring half a champion, and then Roxanne just decimates her basically, or they draw the fight out so long that it's like, wow, that could have been half the time and gotten the same result. And I don't want that for her. I think Roxanne, one, has worked way too hard to get where she's at. She has, trained her ass off. She has fought the good fight, and she deserves the win. She totally does. And this is going out to the bigwigs who do all of the actual production. Don't let it be an empty victory. That's all I'm saying. It's got to be a full-on, she barely walks out of the ring because Lyra nearly killed her. I mean, it's like, literally, let her earn the title. Now I will stop talking.
Yeah. So, we'll move on from this in a little bit. But the one thing I was thinking about this is like, why have I seen this story before, right? Like Lyra being injured going into a title match. Oh, wait, I've seen this before. Because they did the exact same thing at Battleground last year when Indy vacated the title and we had Tiffany versus Lyra at Battleground last year, and Lyra was going in as hurt as well. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I don't want to... We'll be here all night. We'll save that for a podcast episode, but we're moving on from this because backstage we are with what seemed like a group that has kind of lost its way a little bit, Metaphor. I hate what they've done with our lovable quadrant of people, but Metaphor is backstage. They're hyping up Noam Dar as he's about to face Trick Williams in the main event. And who should arrive to the Performance Center but Alpha Academy, being Maxine, Otis, and Akira Tozawa. Listen, they were some of the highlights of this episode, but my question was,
they were.
Why were they here?
Why were they there?
I was like, why are we here? What is happening? And I was like, oh my gosh.
And they basically wedged themselves into the tag teams. I'm like, what is happening right now?
And we can get into it later when they talk about the setup for what's going to happen. But they painted themselves into a corner with that one, and that's a stupid choice. But yeah,
we'll talk about it when we get there, because there were some parts I thought were funny. And then I was upset by some of it as well. So after this, we're backstage with Ava and Lyra in the medical room. Lyra wants Roxanne, and she tells Ava she wants Roxanne at Stand and Deliver. So Ava makes it official, which I was like, we knew this though, but okay, cool. Thanks for giving me the
I was so
graphic.
shocked.
Oh my god!
Like, who knew? Oh my gosh! Like, but low key though, as much as I hating on this episode, if they rectify a lot of stuff in the next 2 weeks and Lyra's not as hurt going into it, I'm actually really excited to see Lyra versus Roxanne at Stand and Deliver.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
They just
the
gotta rectify a lot.
matches that we're looking at for Stand and Deliver could be some really good matches.
Mhm.
It's just the stuff they're doing before then feels unnecessary at best.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought the build to Bound for Glory was bad. I'm gonna reserve my judgment until we get past Stand and Deliver. Then we're going to compare the two builds and see which one was actually worse.
Oh,
So
God.
next up, we're supposed to have Obafemi be in the ring, but it gets hijacked by Josh Briggs. Okay, so let me run through this part before Oba comes out, and then we can all talk about the Oba feminists, right? Because that's what the fan base is called. So Josh Briggs comes out there, he cuts this promo, and his whole beef with Obafemi is because he beat the piss out of, Brooks Jensen last week in a title match. Josh Briggs, didn't you tell Brooks to grow a pair a couple of weeks ago? And then you proceeded to beat him to a pulp yourself not too long ago? And that was okay because he's your brother or whatever? But then you have a problem when Obafemi, who is a champion, do the same? Just make it make sense. Like, holy crap. I was like, we backtracked and doubled down on this weird character motivation for Josh. I was like, if you're gonna be a badass, be a badass. Like, what is happening?
Other than this whole sequence could have not happened and I would have been fine. But I'm so irritated right now because we were building Josh to something and now we've stalled. Like, what are you doing? I mean, are you trying to get him to this championship? I mean, is that what you're wanting to do? Because he was on fire, and I was here for it. And then all of a sudden, it like turned, and then now it's just stalled. It has completely stalled, and I'm just like, I hate when they do shit like that. I hate when you're like building this character's arc. You're building it, and then you're like, oh, let's put it on the back burner and switch to this. And now we've got this thing with Dijak, and I'm just like, at this point, my head was like hurting.
Okay, Andrew, your initial thoughts, and then I'm going to finish the second half of this thing, and then we can talk about this whole thing in its entirety.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I'll just say my whole thought because what I had for this initially was I could rendered moot by the information we got later. But basically my whole thing out of this was I don't understand why we're putting Dijak in there because he's jumping from one feud that he finished kind of straight into this. Like, that had no connection. I would have rather seen just Josh Briggs versus Obafemi. I agree you could have given him a better motivation. Hell, just have him say, oh, you think you're so badass because you beat up this, my buddy, my brother or whatever? Well, then show me you can do it to me too. Put your title on line. I'll face you. And you could have just had it been that. They're two big dudes. Let them hoss it out. That's fine. I don't know why we need to mix Dijak in there. I get it. He's tall too. Whatever. But all of this was rendered moot by what we get later, so I'll just wait till we get to that point.
Oh my gosh, we will get this. But Obafemi comes out. I'm going to be honest, like, Obafemi was probably the best part of this whole entire thing. Because I was like, you know what? You be cocky. Yes, that's exactly what you are. I was like, I mean, you're not wrong in what you're saying. And then Dijak killed the mood. I forgot what the line was, but he said something that was just like, somebody was calling him something. It's like, oh, he's black. I was
Shaft.
like, hey, excuse me? Yeah, I was like, Shaft. And it was like, he was black. I was like, do we really
Like
need
the
to
poor
address
man
that?
Shaft or whatever he said he was. I can't remember, but he's
you mean
like,
like Samuel
"Whoa,
Jackson?"
I'm white. I'm like, Did we
That
go
was
there, really?
so weird. I was like, hold the phone. But this ended up being Obafemi was smart. He's like, yeah, no, this has nothing to do with the three of you, the three of us. This happens to be between the two of you. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna see y'all later. Bye. I was like, good. I was like, you know what? I would be that too. And then it breaks out into a whole entire brawl. I love how they try to break it up. I was like, there are 2 tiny refs and 3 big dudes. I was like, where was security? I was like, did y'all go work for Carmelo? Because is that where security was? Because I was like, there was a lack of security and refs this episode. I'm like, what happened, you guys?
Mm-hmm.
So, as Andrew said, we will talk about what we get later in the evening. They really dragged that out until the very end for what we got. It was really weird. And then we get to probably like my favorite part within the first fourth of the show. Sean Spears is being weird and watching all this unfold, and he talks about how the fall before the pride is the biggest downfall of humanity or whatnot, being very philosophically creepy about it, which I love. And I was just like, you go, Sean Spears, and you weird hair fetish. I love you. Like, but then the whole entire time I'm like watching the background and I just see, ooh. I see Joe Gacy popping his head out, and he's like, is it though? Are we sure about that? And then ooh, pops back out of frame. I'm like, best part of this fourth of the episode so far. If we're teasing Sean Spears and Joe Gacy, it's a Gacy sighting. Gacy Watch 2024.
Yeah, this was my favorite promo of the night, and it was super short. And honestly, I'm here for Joe Gacy and Sean Spears together because the two of them could be frightening and so entertaining.
Like, Schism 2.0. I don't want to say it will be better because GYV were a part of this whole thing. And I like GYV. But Gacy and Sean Spears could be something magical, and I'd be here for it.
Sanity, the Flock, Schism, like every variation of that kind of group. Wyatt family.
Yes, we need a new creepy faction because Final Testament is not doing it for me on SmackDown. I love Paul Ellering, but geez Louise, the booking between that faction and Bobby Lashley's faction has not been great. But tune into SmackDown to hear our thoughts about that. So next we get our first of 2 tag team qualifying matches for the evening. We have, as Andrew has coined them, that's the new tag team Velocity, which is Axiom and Nathan Frazier taking on the team of No Quarter Catch Crew, being represented by. Well, okay. So as soon as I saw this, I was like, okay, so Axiom and Nathan Frazier better win here, because if not, I have lots of questions. And I'm gonna be honest, I thought this was a stellar match. Only because Nathan and Axiom carried a lot of this match for me. Not to say the other two were necessarily inherently bad. I mean, Charlie Dempsey and then you had Miles in there, but Axiom nearly killed himself a couple of times by almost hitting the table, which worried me a little bit. But here's what I want to see. I need to see Nathan Frazier and Braun Breaker just run the ropes. Just somebody film that for me, because holy crap. Between those two, I want to know who runs the ropes the fastest.
Yeah, one of my notes was, God damn, Frazier is fast. He's so fast.
Oh my goodness. And Axiom, who is also known as A-Kid, like, he's just so good. And I was happy that they won, because I was like, cool, LWO, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom, just those 2 teams alone, oh, it's going to kick all the ass. And then we'll talk about who ended up getting the 3rd spot, because now I have issues.
So this match started my frustrations with the evening, and it's the same thing that I've brought up multiple times about NXT. We get the entrance for Axiom and Nathan Frazier. Then we get the promo from last week of Trick Williams. We get Carmelo Hayes is arriving, like all this stuff. This could have been before this match or after this match. Then we also got a picture-in-picture moment during this match. And it was just, this was the beginning of a cycle that happened repeatedly throughout the night. That it was just, it was the beginning of taking me out and losing the momentum of every single good moment in the evening.
Yeah. So, Will, do you want to wait until we get the second helping of No Quarter Catchphrase to go off on them?
Yeah, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
I will say
So-
that the finisher that Axiom and Frazier hit, that's like Avalanche
Woo!
Spanish Fly into the Phoenix Splash. That's dope.
The right people won, in my opinion, in this match. And here's hoping that they somehow managed to pull out the victory to go to Stand and Deliver, because I would want to see that match than what I think is going to happen. So after this match, we get the obligatory NXT Anonymous on the social media. We get to see Daddy and Daddy fighting because Von Wagner and Mr. Stone are arguing like a lover's quarrel. And apparently there's a minor break and a breakup between the two of them. Mr. Stone didn't appreciate Vaughn coming out and helping him. I was like, bro, where did this come from? Like, y'all were thick as thieves. I was like, again, and this is the same problem I had with JC, is like, we just turned real quick. Like, no build up, no nothing. They're just like, oh, I suddenly hate you. I'm like, no, you have to you don't have to slowly build to it, but you got to give me a reason first. I was like, why, Mr. Stone? You say that Von Wagner made you look like a punk? Sir, you lost in 3 minutes. I was like, I don't know how much more worse you can look after losing
To Lexus King.
in
You
3
couldn't
minutes.
look more like a puss.
He was mad that he got carried out, but he was unconscious. Like, what?
Mhm.
What
So
was
dumb.
You just want to lay there on the floor? Cool. Like, yeah, my
Make
response.
it make sense.
My response to this promo was sure.
Fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mine was
So then we head
stupid.
backstage, and then we get a chance to talk to the Wolf Dogs, and this beginning
Whoa.
part made me cackle.
Whoa. We had
Yes.
Sol Ruka's entrance. Then we
Then
had
the
the
Wolf
Wolf
Dogs.
Dogs promo. Yeah. So
Again,
once again, this
stupid.
happened. Why is
Listen
this
here. When I write my notes, I write them in the order that makes sense to me. I don't care what I saw on my television.
As I have
That's
said from the beginning, estúpido. That is my word for this episode.
Estúpido. Anyways, so yes, as my co-host made me remember, though I was purposely forgetting, Sol Ruka has her knockoff Beach Boys theme song music. I like her gimmick. Actually having a chance to talk to her parents, like she is that surfer girl for life because her parents are actually like that. Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Ruka, because y'all were so nice to talk to me, Minnie, and my friend that came with us to talk at Stand and Deliver before it started. Y'all are some nice peoples, and I'm super happy that your daughter is back on my television screen because she was rising up in the ranks as one of my favorites before she got injured. So Sol Ruka makes her entrance. Then we go backstage to the Wolf Dogs.
I do want to point out, I see in my notes here, actually, we got Sol Ruka's entrance, we got a commercial break, then we came back to the Wolf Dog promo before we got her opponent's entrance.
Gosh dang it,
So
Andrew.
it's a
I love
theme
this.
I'm going to keep bringing up throughout this whole review. So
Fine.
It is a theme.
It's
It is
a
a
theme.
theme.
So now we get to the Wolf Dog for the third time. Just kidding. The first part of this promo had me cracking it up because Baron Corbin is still salty that him and Braun went to go have dinner. And then they were arguing about the semantics. And I'm kind of on Baron's side. I was like, bro, if you text me and you invite me to dinner and say, hey, I got you, I'm going to assume that you're paying for the both of us. You're not going to get up and leave and have me looking stupid paying the bill afterwards after you go to the bathroom. And Braun Breaker with this line killed me. He's like, hey, man, when a dog's got to go, he's got to go. I'm like, oh, my gosh. We are going. I was like, we're full force with it. It was great. And then Alpha Academy came in. And at first, I was kind of here for it because the banter was hilarious. Otis is ridiculous. He's just like, I kind of have to agree with him. I like this dude. But how come we weren't involved in this tag title? Now I don't like this dude. And then this is where my issue with this whole thing came in, because though it was funny because Baron's like, don't say it, Braun, we accept. And Baron's like, so that part was funny. But the overarching narrative that we have is that next week, the Wolf Dogs will be taking on Alpha Academy. And if Alpha Academy somehow wins that match, they will be inserted into the tag team championship match at Stand and Deliver. Why do we feel the need to insert main roster stars into this? We have the Good Brothers already. That should have been enough. But now you're going to insert Alpha Academy. They haven't been here in weeks. Chad Gable's whole thing right now is he's dealing with the Intercontinental Championship. Maxine, you just got roasted in front of the whole entire world by Candice LeRae, which, by the way, Candice, shout out to you. You had the nerve, the gumption, the gall to bring up Maxine's dead brother in a promo, which was nuts to hear. And I'm just like, Akira Tozawa, last time we saw you in NXT, you lost the Heritage Cup Championship match post Halloween Havoc. I don't know. Andrew?
You're either having these two come in and just getting thrown into this tag team title picture, which, like you said, you've got the Good Brothers already, and technically LWO is, technically I think they're not NXT tag team, even though that's where they keep showing up. But you're either going to throw them in and wedge them into this tag team title picture, by which you're doing that and having the Wolf Dogs lose before they go defend their title, even if it's some stupid thing like a count out or disqualification or something like that. It makes them either look stupid or weak. Or Alpha Academy loses, and all of this was for nothing. Once again, like we talked about with the first match, to just have another match with your champions or your title contenders. It's just It's a stupid choice to make. There's no reason for this to go in. If you're going to try and wedge Alpha Academy in there, have them face somebody else for a chance to get into that title picture. I will say I did laugh a little bit when Otis said he just barked at me after Braun Breaker barked at him before they left. That I did get a kick out of that. But other than that, this was stupid. We did not need Alpha Academy here. We could have done without them, and that would have shaved off 2 promos out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, that's how I feel. I'm like,
I will remind you, though, that we're technically in between the entrances of 2 people who are set to wrestle, so that's when all this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you, Andrew. I hate you so much. Just kidding. I love you. Just let it out, Will. Let it out.
It makes no damn sense. I was like, I love me some Braun Breaker and Baron. Anytime that they're doing something, I am all over them. And I was loving this whole thing. And then Alpha Academy came in. And again, I'm like, why are you here? And then the banter was funny. It was like, oh, hey, that's funny. And then it was just, this happened. And I was just like, my eye started twitching. I was just like, what in the absolute F-bomb are they doing? Why are you bringing these guys in to something that's basically already done? It's like, we know after it's like, it's done. Why are we suddenly literally wedging themselves into it? Just convoluted stupidity. I literally have no words. I mean, I have lots of words, but I literally am just like, I don't understand. I don't understand what the hell's going on. I was so lost.
Oh my goodness.
And I love those guys. I love Alpha Academy. They're super fun. And but I don't understand why we're bringing them in at basically like the 11th hour. And Andrew's right. I mean, if they win, it weakens your champions. If they lose, what the hell was the point?
See, I'm gonna wait until we get to the very end after our main event segment, because I want to talk a little bit about like how we're building to this Stand and Deliver. And obviously it's not fair to compare previous Stands and Delivers, but as someone who was there live for last year's Stand and Deliver and the matches we got there versus what we're getting here, I'm still gonna enjoy them. And I'm not saying that the talent's not there, because the talent is there, but I'm gonna compare it because the matches we got and who was still in NXT around that time makes a whole heck of a lot of a difference. So now we can talk about Sol Ruka versus Brinley Reese. First and foremost, I love Brinley, Idris, and Malik as a trio. They
Yes.
are ridiculous in the best way
Oh, I
possible.
love them so
them
much.
so much. And I gotta say, I really like this match. It was more so to, remind everyone, hey, this is Sol Ruka. This was somebody who was rising up in the ranks before she got injured. And I'm hoping she comes up with a new finisher too, because as much as I love watching the Soul Snatcher, that is going to, like Gail Kim has said in interviews before, any finisher that involves with you hitting your back on the mat is going to hurt as you get older. So I love seeing the Soul Snatcher as a finisher, but I'm hoping that Sol Ruka comes up with other finishers because I want her to have a long career.
Yeah, that's the first time I've actually seen it. That's insane. I mean, it's amazing. That's insane, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely creative, which I was like, oh, I haven't seen that before. Good on you, Sol, for coming up with something creative. But that's not the important bit.
This match was fun personalities and styles. I think it was a way to show Sol Ruka to people who haven't seen her since she's been out. Way to show people who she was for the people that saw her. But it was also a really good way to show Brinley's skills as well, because there was a lot of counter wrestling, a lot of oh, you can do that, so can I, kind of a thing. So it's kind of showing where she's come up to as well. And I think it showed exactly the personality that makes that trio so entertaining. At the end, when she lost, she was thumbs upping Sol Ruka as they were leaving, because she was like, "Hey, good job, you did it," kind of a thing. This was one of my favorite matches of the night. They were just a lot of fun. Seeing this and then what came after the match, and we kind of touched on it with the other people who could have faced Roxanne Perez.
Mm-hmm.
And what everyone was built up with already. I know it might sound crazy, or silly, but I think NXT could use a secondary women's title. Because
absolutely.
They have so many women wrestlers that it's not all of them can wrestle for that women's world title. Or, crazy idea, actually use the tag team championships to wrestle through all of the promotions.
Right.
And use a lot of that for NXT, because you deal up with tag teams. But yeah, NXT could use a secondary women's title because they've got so many, and especially so many that are coming up.
I think it's time for a women's mid-card title. I mean, shoot, the men have the North American Championship, and we're gonna talk about it because I'm a little upset. I'm upset with how we're treating the Heritage Cup right now, because we're almost there, Will. We're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna let you go off, sis.
But yeah, they've got the world title, the North American title, the Heritage Cup, and the tag team titles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The women only have the NXT Women's Championship right now. Introduce this mid-card women's title. It's not that hard.
It really isn't.
Make it a TV title. Make it a whatever.
Just we need another
the equivalent of the digital media championship.
Exactly.
Over at TNA. I mean, something like that would be great. Where it could be anyway. Yeah. But you know what? The thing about this match that I was like, is the dynamics of this match, had it been the dynamics of this one on the Roxanne one, I think it would have been a far, far better fight. But because you're right, Andrew, the move, counter move, look what I can do. Oh yeah, or look what I can do. It really did showcase both of them. And that's what Roxanne's fight should have been. It should have been with someone who could have showcased, and because this was one of my favorite matches of the night, and it was so short, but it was one of my favorites because it felt like it was an actual match. It's it was,
Why was Roxanne not facing Lola Vice?
Yeah, right.
The person who cost her basically one of her title shots. And that's someone who's tough, who can at least go out there and has a combat sports pedigree outside of professional wrestling. That you're she could be dangerous, and it gives her a little bit of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But,
yeah, but they didn't ask us for our opinions, did they? Bastards.
although I will say, I think it was in this match. Yes, I think they're listening to us because what's the reference, Mikey, that I've been making about Chase U? What do I keep calling it?
You call
Their
it Dodgers?
promos? No. Saved by the Bell.
Saved by
Yeah.
the Bell. They did make a
Yes.
Saved by the Bell.
They
You're
made
right.
a Saved by
Oh.
the Bell reference during this match. I was like, are they listening? Do they know?
I think they are listening. I swear. I feel like the promoters are somewhat watching this channel because there are just weirdly specific things that we talk about that I don't really see anyone else talk about. But then they get it on their on the TV screen. I'm like, either you guys or your interns are watching us. Either way, we appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Give us a follow.
Seriously, like, give us a like and subscribe. But my favorite part of this whole thing, the match was great. I love that Malik and Idris were carrying Brindley out of the match, because then, by the way, I need those pants, Blair. I'm just putting it out there. Like, I would wear those things in a heartbeat. But Blair Davenport comes out and she attacks Sol Ruka. I'm like, yes, we are continuing what we started before Sol got injured, and I am here for it. So Blair versus Sol is what we're going to be getting at some point, and I'm here for this feud.
Give us a women's non-title match at Stand and Deliver between these two. Even if it's like the opening match or something, it would be awesome.
Look, me and Will, before Andrew got here, we gushed how much we loved Blair versus Kalani Jordan at No Mercy when those two were in a non-title match and they were just fighting to fight each other. Like, it was fantastic. It was a good match. We're going to talk about our girl Kalani later too, because like I like the spiciness, and we're going to talk about it because we got a part 2 of like what happened later. I was like, these girls just be jumping out of nowhere.
Which I love.
It's so good. So from here, we go backstage. Rin Sinclair and Gigi Dolan are talking to each other about getting punched in the not safe for YouTube word.
In the GG.
And then
in the no-no square.
In the no, don't touch me there. This is my no-no square. But Miss NXT herself, Ariana Grace, comes in. First of all, I love that she's like, all right, Georgina. I was like, girls like
did she just call me Georgina? I was like, girl, she did just call you Georgina.
And out of a box, she pulls out Miss NXT and Training Stash. And this was probably another highlight. This was so funny. I'm here for these etiquette lessons for Gigi and Ariana, and I'm excited to see how Gigi is just gonna drag her feet through this whole thing. I need social media posts, like, that'd be hilarious.
Oh my god. It's so funny.
It's funny because you speak of the social media posts, and I have a thought about that during our next promo.
Okay, so let's just get through this, because this was a weird Ridge Holland promo. Like, sir, I know contracts vary in terms of how much you get paid as a wrestler, but we couldn't have opted to get like a $30 like tripod and like a miniature like ring light and stuff like that, because this was the blurriest promo ever. And Ridge's promo basically said, it's just like, I don't know what my next step is, but I know that I have to do something, so I'm gonna do what I do best. And then that was the end. I'm like, no, you cannot leave me like this. What is happening? Where are we going? Like, did we just give up? Like, is that what happened now? Like,
I guess I'll be what they want me to be. I was like, yay, Ridge is gonna murder somebody.
I was like, he's gonna become a full psychopath, which is what we always want. No, I'm just kidding.
So then we need a triptych. We need him and Gacy and the other dude.
Spears.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Ty Dillinger.
Let's get those three together.
This whole fake social media promo thing just does not work for me. It seems forced. It seems unnatural. If you're gonna do it, first off, like, make it more natural, not so scripted. And second, just make them social media posts or make it a regular promo. Like, look at what TNA does. Look at what Ring of Honor does. Even AEW, to a certain extent, they let their professional wrestlers do social media posts that get you more interested in the performer and their character and storylines. This was like other companies have wrestlers that do social media. Well, let's have a promo that looks like it's social media. And it's like, it was just, it's like having the, like, senior citizens go, oh, this was what the kids think are hip now. And it just was not, it did not work.
I don't know what you're talking about, Andrew. I'm forever 21. No, just kidding. Nah. I'm not going to say my age because then someone's going to kill me. I was just like, I'm old, but not that old.
He's young. He's lying.
I'm pretty sure
he's 19.
I'm pretty sure you're the youngest one in the room right now, so.
Yeah.
In the room, yes. The Iconics boys, no.
No, you're not the youngest out of the 9 of
us.
So. I think I'm the oldest.
Yes.
I really do. I really think I'm the oldest.
Yeah,
no, I think we've established you are, but that's okay because you're forever 21.
I'm not ashamed of my age. Like, are you
You've
kidding
earned
me?
your
I
salt
can't
and
wait.
pepper.
I can't wait to get that senior citizen discount.
That's fantastic.
No, I was back to what we were doing. I think the trauma train, it derailed with this whole Ridge Holland thing, because at first it was like, oh, okay, I kind of like where they're going with this, and now it's just like, okay. And then he does this whole mopey social media post, and I was just like, what the hell? Could you here's what I want, Ridge. You want to be a badass murder hobo? Then do a promo with like a chair up against somebody's head going, this is going to be all of you bitches. And I've been like, as opposed to, oh, woe is me. Everyone's so mean to me. Boo. And I was just like, oh my God. It was painful to watch. I was literally like, can we... NXT. I got some ideas. Reach out to me. Because this could have been a really cool promo if they had just embraced it. I think they're trying to be all mysterious with it. It's like, screw the mystery. I literally want him to like be like, well, blah, blah, blah. And then the lighting suddenly changes and he's in a completely different outfit. And he's like, bring it on, bitches. I would like, hell yes. I'll send you a chair, man. Because I want to see you like literally murder somebody. Because obviously you want to. So embrace it, my man. Embrace that. And let's make you the coolest freaking villain there is at NXT, because I'm here for it. I want you to be my murder hobo. Truly. I really do. Because I'm really kind of getting tired of the trauma train. It's like, done.
Spears is collecting Batman villains. He is his Joker. We've got Ridge, who's his Bane. We just need to, like, that's what they need to do with Ridge. Is he does need to show up next week or something. Like, they need to build him up like they did Spears and just have him come out and wreck people, and then Sean just show up and just
do it.
Yep.
And you'd be like, this is what you wanted. You made me. I'm like, oh, look at there. Let's do that. Yes, please. And then, like, literally he needs to go after everybody who dissed him the whole time he's been there. He needs to go down the row, and he needs to have pictures on the wall, and he puts big X's over them as he takes them out. I mean, total Batman villain. You're absolutely correct. He needs to be like, and make it as hokey as hell. I don't care. Like Stacey's got going over there.
Bring back the Ridge Holland with the overcoat and the Billy Club. That's the Ridge Holland I want to see.
I mean, seriously, because goodness. The potential is fantastic if they just embrace it.
It really is. So we go from one weird promo to another weird one. The family is out in the ring. Let me tell you, I don't know how we scripted this, but I was so distracted by Ilya's faces that he was making on screen while there was like
That
just
shit
those
was
long
funny.
periods of silence. I was just like, I wonder if Ilya knows how, like, he probably knows this was stupid and he's just hamming it up. And I loved it because literally, like, there were so much weird periods of silence. And I'm looking at the screen and Ilya's like, or ooh, or
Yeah.
oh. I was like, that shit was
It's
funny.
like, what is happening right now?
That was more entertaining than what we got in the ring because literally all we did is that we're, you know.
But
I was like, this is Tony versus Ilya, not the family versus Ilya.
exactly.
First I was just like, what is what we lost.
But
the
did
plot
you
a little bit.
notice? Did you notice though when D'Angelo was all like, "You're gonna face my boy, Stacks next week," and how the audience hardly reacted at all?
Yeah,
like
no
everyone
one
was like,
cares.
because everyone's like, "What?"
We know he's not winning. We know he's not. Commentary made me so mad later in the show too when they were giving us the bumpers. This is like, the road to Stand and Deliver is going to begin, but what shape will Ilya be in as he works his way through Stacks next week? I'm like, sir, I was like, you lie. Like, what is it? I was like, But I hated this.
You know what's going to happen, right? Is the week after that, he's going to face Crucifino.
Mm-hmm.
I know this. Yo, actually, if they wanted to pull a swerve, like, no pun intended, Ilya versus Adriana Rizzo would be hilarious.
I will say from this promo, this is how bad. I mean, I don't want to say how bad it was, but they all looked super clean. Like, the family looked clean in the ring, except for the Don's shoelaces. Like, I like.
Oh my!
I know.
The bows and everything were just like hanging out, and I was like, "Tuck his shoelaces."
My inner fashionista was like, "No, ma'am!" Like, oh
I had
my
other
gosh!
Fashion comments from this evening. I was messaging Mikey about one of them. I was just like, "Who let you go out like that?"
We'll talk about it when we get there because I know what we're going to discuss. But this promo was weird. Nobody cares about Ilya versus Stacks. No. I am still excited for Ilya versus Tony at Stand and Deliver. But again, the same problem we have issued throughout the whole entire night. We got 2 weeks. We got to figure something out to keep everyone busy. Is stupid. I hate it.
It is so dumb.
Speaking of dumb things, first, we're backstage with Chase U. They congratulate Thea of, coming back to Chase U, which I'm like, cool, yay. I like Thea's chaotic energy. She's great. She's fantastic. Which then leads us into our NXT Heritage Cup Championship match, where it is going to be Drew Gulak from No Quarter Catch Crew defending the title against Riley Osborne. Gentlemen, I can't speak for the rest of you, but like, since Noam Dar has lost the championship, and even then we were saying how we want better opponents for him, because to me, the last time that I really enjoyed a Heritage Cup match, because I honestly didn't know how it was going to go, was at No Mercy when it was Pete Dunne and Noam Dar. That match was baller. It was fantastic until we got to the DQ ending, which me and Will like really threw expletives at during the review.
So pissed. I was so mad.
I did not like this Heritage Cup match, only from the fact that I enjoyed Riley Osborne. Like, he was fantastic. I was disappointed by Drew Gulak because I know how good he can be, and he barely did anything in this match.
No.
This championship has become like a novelty toy, and I'm very saddened by it.
I haven't seen many of the matches. I was intrigued by the first match I saw for the Heritage Cup, but so many shenanigans have happened recently that it takes away from the style of this match. Like, first of all, how did Drew Gulak not get disqualified for hitting Riley Osborne after the bell rang in between rounds when it was blatantly obvious that he pinned him, got up, hit him and knocked him out, almost. Basically knocked him down, and he was stunned. In any other combat sports, that would be an immediate disqualification. Like, the fact that we came back from a commercial break in the middle of a title match. So, first of all, you had a commercial break in the middle of a title match. Not even a picture-in-picture, a full-on commercial break. We came back with 30 seconds left in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly, these other two ladies are at the side of the ring, and they take time out of the match to show you what happened during that commercial break. Like, who is building this programming? Round 4, at least half of it, was quick pin attempts that were so many times it was obvious. Like when they were doing the backslides, and it was like, oh, I'm going to unhook my arm, now you hook my arm. I'm going to unhook my arm, now you hook my arm. I'm going to unhook my arm, now you hook my arm. And then there were like, it was obvious when people were just like putting themselves in a pinning predicament. It just felt like they tried to do too many things in this match. And like, it felt like there were like 3 different stories going on, because there's like the Thea and the other ladies things. There's the like Chase U challenging for the Heritage title. There's the North Quarter Catch crew like going on this like, we defend the title, all 4 of us can defend it. And so it's like all of that, but it just felt like these were all just like, it was like no one knew where they were going with it, but they were just like, let's just throw this all together. And the fact that they once again threw this stuff in the middle of a match, took time out of the match, and it was a title match. It's like, what are you doing programming this show? So bad.
I hate No Quarter Catch crew. I hate everything about them. And I don't mean I don't like their concept. This whole idea that there's 4 of us and we get to choose who you're going to fight. I'm like, no. I would literally be like, no, I'm not playing that. I'm challenging your ass. It's you and me, not me and one of your dumbass boys. I want your ass in the ring. And they're like, no, we get to choose it ourselves. So you're going to fight, this ugly dude over here. And I'm just like, their whole thing, this whole character concept that they've got going on is dumb. I can't stand it. And I'm sorry if I get flack for that. I don't give a crap. They're stupid. It's absolutely stupid. They're all, and that has nothing to do with the wrestlers. It has to do with this concept of this group. It's so dumb. And I'm amazed no one's put a stop to it yet. And Heritage Cup is a joke now. I mean, it has no weight anymore. It's like, oh, okay. At least when Noam had it, at least he made it something. It may not have been like, anything like major, but at least he was so into it that it made me into it. It was like, but now these clowns have it, and it's like, I don't care anymore.
I think what frustrates me about this whole entire thing too, and as someone who watched NXT UK and was dedicated to NXT UK, when the Heritage Cup was created in NXT UK, that thing meant something as a secondary title to win for the men's division, because former winners include Tyler Bate, A-Kid, Noam Dar, like Trent Seven held it at one point too. Like, these are big names who won this thing. And Noam Dar won it when NXT UK was still a thing before bringing it over to the States. And then when we brought it to United States for NXT, it started off great. Like, Tyler Bate fought for it again. Like, there was fantastic matches. I still say it. The best match for the Heritage Cup since bringing it over to US NXT was Pete Dunne and Noam Dar at No Mercy. If we take out the DQ ending at the very end and the schmoz for no reason, that match was fantastic. And I recommend, and Andrew, I definitely recommend, if you got time, to go back and watch that match from No Mercy for the Heritage Cup, because that match was actually really, really good. And in fact, it almost ended up being my favorite match had the ending not happened of the schmoz.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, actually, I take that back. That would probably be in contention for best match of the night because best match of the night still belonged to Tiffany and Becky in a
Oh, hell yeah.
like Extreme Rules match.
That was so...
So fantastic, but I'm just saddened because the Heritage Cup has kind of been cheapened since Noam Dar has had less and less like actual credible challengers. Now that he's lost it to No Quarter Catch Crew, I get that we want to kind of play fast and hard with the rules, so to speak, with No Quarter Catch Crew. But I feel the only person, and we make fun of him for having a haircut, but I thought we were going somewhere when you had that interaction between Charlie Dempsey and William Regal of all people, like 2 weeks ago. Like Charlie Dempsey should be defending that thing because between all three of them, you literally have William Regal's child on that crew. He has been raised in the style of British wrestling through his daddy. Like, let Charlie Dempsey be the person to defend that because we know he has the pedigree and he has the skills. I like Drew Gulak. I think he's a super talented cruiserweight, but he did not impress me this match, and I'm so upset that we're now treating the Heritage Cup like a joke because now it's just like a novelty toy that I can buy out of the store, and that makes me
it
very
literally
sad.
has no weight. It has no weight.
And I also didn't like that we had to use this match to set up something for Thea next week because Jasmine Nix gets involved by pushing Riley Osborne off of the turnbuckle, which then prompts Drew to pick up the win and the second pinfall to have him retain the Heritage Cup. And this sets up Jasmine versus Thea next week. All right, Andrew, I see you seething. Let your quiet rage out. Tell me, how do we feel right now?
Oh, no, I'm actually looking forward in my notes and just looked at the next match that's coming after the next promo that we get. This was silly, especially like you said. Drew Gulak was defending this title. He didn't look strong in this. Charlie Dempsey, another great point about this is the fact that he's literally the one that won it for their team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mind you, there were shenanigans in that match, but Drew Gulak almost lost the Heritage Cup to Riley Osborne, and honestly, I would have been happy if Riley Osborne would have won this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was stupid. There was too many shenanigans, too much stuff going on. You didn't need to throw the stuff with Thea and these other two in there.
This was an overbooked mess.
Yeah,
it was.
My goodness.
Poor blocking.
So, speaking of things being poor Brooks Jensen, because we head to the NXT parking lot, and he has his duffel bag. He's in his jean jacket, like he is out the door. And Fallon Henley chases him like this is a rom-com movie. It's like, wait, don't go. What are you doing? Brooks is not having it. He was going through it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the whiplash of your character development is all over the place.
Well, yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing with these guys either. It's like
y'all broke them up.
Yeah, you broke them up.
Them up, but now you're bringing them back together. Like,
and now,
what's happening?
Briggs is all like, "Oh, you beat up my brother. I'm going to defend his honor or whatever the hell." And then Fallon's like,
"You
don't
pushed
go.
him in the locker
You're
room
such
a month ago.
Oh, don't leave." I'm like, "You two literally pushed him away."
And y'all were doing great on your own. No, we are not revisiting this.
No.
NXT, as much as I loved our Coyote Uglies being together, you have done good things with all of them being individuals. Do not put them back together.
I hope Jensen is going away and then he's going to come back as something else.
Yes.
And literally take the place by storm. I really believe he's going to go off and he's going to do training and he's going to do, we get a nice 80s training montage or something. And
you might as well just make him like a modern day version of an 80s wrestler, because in his match against Obafemi, we went from him to wearing jeans and cowboy boots. So it was just like, I had to readjust my television. I'm like, Von Erichs, is that you?
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
It literally
funny.
looked like one of the Von Erichs. I was like, what is happening?
So funny. I was like, well, this is a new look. It's like,
well, especially with his, Magnum PI chest hair look going on, his, mustache, he totally should just be
70s, early 80s wrestling.
It's like, all right, Tom Selleck, calm down.
Yeah, but I really do hope that he's leaving to come back as something bigger and better. I really do. I really do, because I can't imagine that they went through all that just to beat him down so he would leave. You know, that makes this is one of those great, as a theater person coming at you, this is one of those great character things. It's like you destroy this character to just build up a new one, and he comes in and he's I'm really kind of excited for what's next for him. I really am, because I think they're going to do something with him.
We're not done with the parking lot because we can't, Brooks going off the distance with Fallon, and then in comes Kalani out of a sudden. And she's ready to go. I love that she's like, all right, let's get ghetto fabulous. She ties up her hair and she's like, all right, where is Kiana and Izzy? I got a bone to pick with them. Let's fight right now. And Fallon's like, girl, like, let's calm down. But also, I'm kind of here for it. Here, follow me. Let's go find them. And then as soon as I heard that, I was just like, we about to get something good later. I hope so.
Can I just say one more thing about the Jensen thing? Did anybody else in this group, when he was walking away, hear the 70s Hulk, Incredible Hulk music playing?
Sure did.
I was just like, dude, I was like, maybe I'm the only one.
I just needed him to stick the thumb out. Just stick the thumb out.
Exactly.
You're such nerds. I love you.
I love it. I love it. He needs a $6 million man intro, but we will make him better. They show all
and
this
less
stuff.
problematic than the actual $1 million man.
Well, yes, but I think it'd be fun. He needs an 80s montage. He does.
Yes.
Anyway, back to Kalani.
We should make him the NXT version of the Outrunners.
Yeah.
Brooks Jensen is the lost Outrunner brother.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Miss Kalani. I mean,
she's ready to fight. She's ready to mollywop
when
some
she
people.
was like putting the hair up, I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh.
And I loved when Fallon was like, you're gonna go fight them 2-on-1. How did that work out for you last time? Okay, come on, come with me. I'll give you
come
back
with me.
As soon as she said that, I was like, oh, we're about to get something good, right? All right.
Oh my god.
So I was excited for this.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're backstage. Ava with Thea and Duke.
Uh-oh. Nope.
You're about to do the thing again, aren't you?
Yes. My notes are, it effing happened again. The OC comes out. This time it's even worse. Because I'll let you talk about the promo first. But the order was the OC came out. Then we go to the promo. Talk about the promo, and then I'll talk about what happened as we came back. No, you don't want to?
No, I'll talk about it. It's like, I hate you, Andrew, but you're absolutely right. I refuse to do it that way, but you are here to keep me on track, so I appreciate you in all those kinds of ways. But backstage, we are with Ava and Thea Hale and Duke Hudson. So both of them are in. Thea Hale is full on, Corgi on coffee mode, because Homegirl has I feel like she stole Bridley's go-go juice. I feel that's the only explanation. Bridley got the hookup, girl, and if so, Bridley, can you slide us whatever coffee you're drinking, girl? I need all that energy for work.
I hear it's Savage Sauce.
Savage Sauce, let's go. Anyways, so Thea wants to get back on what happened during the match, with Riley. So Ava says that Thea gets Jasmine Nix next week, which has her super excited. Thea leaves, and as Duke is about to leave, Ava says, hey, so Duke, I have something for you. It's like next week you're gonna have a match, and if you win and you do very well in said match, there might be some implications for the North American title picture at Stand and Deliver. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, just like Pokemon, we're collecting. Got to catch them all because we're getting all the big boys. And I was like, something tells me we're going to have a fatal 4-way or a multi-person big Haas match for that North American. I believe they're trying to recreate the fatal 5-way we got last year. Let me tell you something. It's not going to work because as much as I love seeing man meet big Haas matches like this, you do not have the right people for this match. I'm sorry to say it. You do not have the right people for this match. And you know what? Forget it. We're going to talk about this now. So, my biggest issue with Stand and Deliver this year is the fact that, not to say the talent's not there, but the matches we're getting I still think are going to be fun. But they're nowhere near as the buildup has been exciting for it. So let's just focus on this. If we are correct, we're probably going to get a multi-person Haas match for that North American Championship match. So, as entertaining as I think it's going to be, one, you don't have the right big people in this match. And number two, you can only do so much with a big Haas match. Like, that's as much as you could do. Let me tell you how we did the Fatal 5-Way last year. Your champion going into that Fatal 5-Way was Wesley. So Wesley was in his character arc as he was defending this thing against anybody and everyone. And in that Fatal 5-Way match, let me tell you who we had. We had Wesley, JD McDonough, Ilya Dragunov, Dragon Lee, and Axiom. That match still lives rent-free in my head, and that was my favorite match of Stand and Deliver last year, and I was there live. That Fatal 5-Way kicked all the ass. And that's saying something because the whole entire card was fantastic too. But I'm looking at this Fatal 5-Way this year and I'm just like, it's not the same. Because the right people are not in this match. The 5 people I mentioned last year, Axiom is still around, but everybody else is either doing something else, is hurt, or in the main roster.
My issue is I would rather see Obafemi defend his title against every one of these potential contenders individually. Have him have that run where he faces off against these people and defends this title, picks up some big title defenses in his reign. I don't need to see them all come in here and face off in this big match, whether it's a 3-way match, 5-way match, whatever it's going to be. So it's throwing too much stuff at it and thinking it's just going to be quantity over quality is going to make it a better show.
The only way I would be okay with a multi-person big Haas match and we're getting through all of Oba's opponents at once is at the end of that match at Stand and Deliver, whose music hits but a returning Wesley. That is the only way I would be okay with Obafemi beating all his potential challengers if it means that, because we know that Wes is close to returning. So if we get a returning Wesley, then I will be more okay with it. But we will see what happens with all that. I might actually cry on our watch along. I'm not gonna lie, you guys.
I will wet myself. I'm not
Good
gonna
to
lie.
know. Oh my goodness. So from here, we get into our second and last tag team qualifying match of the evening. I swear to God. Go ahead, Andrew. Just go for it.
What you mean is we come back to this match, which is a title qualifying match.
I hate
It's
you.
supposed to be a big lead up. We come back with no entrance for the other team, and the action has already started. As somebody who has never seen Hank and Tank before, other than the weird promo portion that they got last week, setting up this match, that was horrible. Like, I have no idea who these guys are. I have no idea what their style is like. I have no introduction to them other than being over the top weird in the promo that just didn't work compared to all the other people that were there. It was so bad. The way that they paced it, it was so bad. Like, and that's just the beginning of how the match started. I had other issues with this match throughout the process too, but I just wanted to get into how we actually started this match off.
I hate you, Andrew. No, I'm just kidding. I love you. You're absolutely right. So, I know the Good Brothers are on the older side of things and they're no longer in their New Japan prime. Like, I totally understand that. I get it. You know, as you get older, you got to slow it down a little bit. But, oh my gosh. This was slower than I would have wanted from both of them because they were not clicking with the chaotic energy that was Hank and Tank. First and foremost, shout out to Hank. I was cracking up with him in his booty jorts like he was wearing. I'm looking at Hank and he's like wearing sensible cargo jeans shorts. I'm looking at Tank. He's literally wearing like jort booty shorts. Like, what is happening with all this?
Mm-hmm.
The Good Brothers were so gassed. Oh my gosh, it was so bad, Andrew and Will. they were so gassed like 3 minutes into the match. And I was like, yo, listen, I know we're not in the prime of our New Japan tag team careers like we were before, but I know you're better than this. Oh my, this was bad. This was bad. This was rough.
This was. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. There
I
were
was just
so
gonna say
many.
this was geriatric wrestling. Sorry.
Oh yeah. And there were so many strikes that clearly missed, and from both sides. Like Gallows' big boot, there was like a foot space in between that and Hank's face.
That was rough to watch.
Hank's kicks to Carl Anderson in the corner. There were a bunch that missed. The Enziguri missed. Like, there were so many things that the timing was just off. There was a weird moment when, who was it? Tank couldn't help Hank outside the ring. Like, he got knocked out there. He couldn't, like, help his partner up to get back into the ring because that would have been, like, interfering or whatever. But then at the end of the match, Gallows just throws Hank into the stairs.
That was so
after
weird.
pulling him out. And no, the ref didn't even say anything. The ref was just like, okay, whatever. And it was just, I don't need to see the OC, the Good Brothers. They've introduced them as both of those different weeks. So whatever they're going by this week, I don't need to see them wrestle the Wolf Dogs for the title. I especially don't need to see them win. But I don't need the Wolf Dogs to face them to legitimize the Wolf Dogs titles. I would much rather see any of these other NXT teams face them and have an amazing match. And you're right, like, Gallows and Anderson were phenomenal in their heyday, but they're not there, and it's one of these things that really irritates me, especially when the older performers are taking away from the younger performers who are there putting in the work, especially in the promotion that is often seen as the lower level promotion.
Mm-hmm. This has always been my biggest issue. These higher level folks, like they have to bring main roster people into NXT to make it interesting.
Look,
and I'm
it's
like,
not our fault that y'all aren't doing anything with AJ Styles. It's not our fault. Like, Mia Yim is like out doing her own thing on the women's roster. Like, Good Brother. Ugh. Unless you're Asuka and Kairi, then you are allowed to come back as much as you want because Kairi, the Kabuki Warriors in NXT just fit so well, honestly.
Well, and their title is literally supposed to be defended across all the promotions, so they should be showing up there. But it's a very similar thing to what we talked about in Ring of Honor that's been happening as they build to their next card. Is these promotions where the performers are working their asses off every week to try and make their promotion the best that it can be. And the people that are in charge are like, oh, well, you're the minor leagues. So when we get to the big times, we'll bring in some of these ringers to come and really help you push it up. And it's like, we don't need that. These people are doing the work. They're awesome. We know that they're great because as soon as they get to that high level, you're just going to poach them for your thing anyway. So let them do what they should be doing here and make that the good product. You don't need to bring in these other people who realistically aren't adding anything to it. They're taking away from it.
Yeah, the OC pick up the victory. So either next week or probably the following week in 2 weeks, it's going to be LWO versus Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus the Good Brothers, the OC. And the winner will go on to face the Wolf Dogs. And then depending on what happens next week, it might be a triple threat with the winner of that triple threat versus the Wolf Dogs versus Alpha Academy, which... Look, I like Otis and Akira Tozawa separately, but they don't need to be shoehorned in to stand and deliver for them to take the pin. And if I'm going to be honest, I am kind of rooting for Nathan and Axiom because I was like, technically, aren't they the next ones in line? Because that's what we've established the last couple of weeks. I'm also here for LWO winning to go up against Braun. Listen, NXT Joaquin Wilde is so different than SmackDown Joaquin Wilde. Like, those two, especially Joaquin, is just a different breed in NXT, and I would be here for LWO versus the Wolf Dogs. But if the OC wins, which is what I'm afraid is going to happen, might actually cry. Like, Okay, that's fine. Whatever, I guess. I want to move on because I'm sad.
Mm-hmm.
Just be prepared for what moving on is going to mean for. You thought the rest of my review of the show was frustrating you.
No, low key. I'm kind of excited to see frustrated Andrew just go off, and also Will. We're all gonna go off when we get to the main event because I have strong words for
Oh
what
my
we got.
god. Oh
But
my.
before
Okay.
we get there, mentally prepare yourself as I get us through everything else before we get to the main event. So we catch up with Roxanne in the parking lot. So she's leaving for the evening. Basically, she tells us that she's gonna rip Lyra a new one, and I'm like, cool, awesome, dope, great. Moving on. Then we get this interaction between Kiana James, Izzy, Dane, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix, and I'm kind of low key here for this 4-women faction. I'm not gonna lie. And they mentioned, JC is like, I knew there's a little bit of that toxic in you, calling back to Toxic Attraction, which JC was a part of with Gigi Dolan and former WWE wrestler Mandy Rose. Before selling nudie pics online, got her dethroned from the company. I think was unfair. I thought Mandy was improving so much, and I liked her. So we'll see if she wants to come back to wrestling. Who knows? But so these 4 women have an interaction. Jasmine and JC leave, and then we get the first time we saw this is after me and Will saw Wesley leave with his wife out the door, and then Gigi and Blair just started jumping each other out of nowhere. As soon as JC and Jasmine leave, Kiana and Izzy are by themselves, and then we get a surprise chick as Kanani and Fallon come out of nowhere and start mollywopping on these girls, and a whole brawl breaks out. I love that the women's division is not afraid. It's just like, all right, we're just going to jump you inside. Bam, boom, boom. This was stupid, but I loved it.
So I do have a point of contention here for you.
If it's about the fighting, you're out of here. No, I'm just kidding. What's up?
No. It's about the order of events.
Oh my gosh.
I'm here for it.
So, what we actually got was Trick Williams' promo backstage that at the end of it, for some random reason, it cut out for a second, went to the Metaphor entrance, went back to Trick saying goodbye, then went back to Metaphor's entrance. Then we get a commercial, we get promos, and we get the bumpers. All of that before Trick Williams' entrance.
Yep.
So we got all of those promos backstage, which was the JC Jane, Jasmine, Nix, Kiana James, Izzy, Dame, 4 of them talking. Then, which I love the fact that we have 4 women talking about another woman who's acting childish while they all sound like a bunch of teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the Fallon Henley and Kalani Jordan attack. Then we get the bumpers for what's going to be coming up next week, telling us about matches like Briggs versus Duke and Spears versus Dijak, which chances are we're just going to get the same match that was already set up anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But we get all of that before we get the full entrance for the main event of this show and one of the big names of NXT going on in a match that, like, for whatever reason, we just got to keep him busy and give him a match since it's his first match back since we last saw him. But why was that all of that not before the actual entrance and the matches and everything? Like, have his promo, have the commercial happen, have all this backstage stuff happen, then have both their entrances happen and start the match. Why keep throwing these things in the middle? It's like, all right, everyone, here we go. We're going to start the race. We're going to do the countdown in 10, 9. Okay, now we're going to go to this commercial break and we'll be right back. And why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you killing the pacing to throw this stuff in? You're not making it more exciting. You're not getting me interested in these other things because you're literally starting me off and then just stopping, taking us in another direction, and then bringing us back. At least both of the people got entrances for this match, where in our other matches earlier in the evening, people didn't get entrances. Matches were started like right in the middle of a match or came back halfway through a match. Like, there was just so many bad programming decisions made on this episode, and it happens repeatedly with NXT, of throwing in promos in the middle of matches, between entrances, cutting out people's entrances. Like, it's so dumb, and it's so momentum killing. It bothers me so much. This was like the epitome of the bad choices that NXT makes. It was just so frustrating.
Oh yeah. They have bad programmers. They do. They have like subpar programmers, and they really need to like up their game, because I agree with you. It's so disjointed, and it completely destroys the flow. Like, you're literally just like, oh, yeah, okay, commercial. Or, promo after promo after promo after promo. Oh, an entrance. Oh, we're getting started. And another promo. It's like, oh, God. Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, the other thing that NXT is really guilty of is, like, being, like, DC Comics. They tell us everything all over again. Like the whole Trick Carmelo thing. How many times have they told us or shown it to us? 3 times now? I'm like, we get it. It's like, we're not
Trust me, Will. NXT's not only doing this, WWE in general has the egregious sin of doing that. Because on Raw and SmackDown, we get the same thing. I was like, guys, we are reviewing the product on a weekly basis. I know these recaps are for the casual audience, but like, come on now. Don't insult my intelligence.
I mean, do you not think we don't? What do you think, we don't pay attention? I mean, and truly, DC Comics is when they do movies, are the worst about it. They tell us Batman's whole backstory all over again.
We know the backstory.
We know. Can we just get on with it? And it happens here too. It's like, oh yeah, right. And it's usually right in the middle of the episode. All of a sudden, we're like recapping. It's like, why didn't you do that at the beginning? If you're gonna do it at the beginning, not halfway through, because then it just throws you off. Because then you're just like, wait, what? Ugh, it drives me nuts. Just drives me insane.
And how many people watching, even if they're casual, aren't watching every other week or whatever? Like, how many people are? This Tuesday was the first time I tuned into NXT, so I need to know every single thing that's happened all of the time, and they do it every week. It's like, how many new viewers do you think you're getting every week?
Exactly. Go watch the old episodes. It's like,
or shout out, or watch Simon Miller Up and Downs if you want to get a quick recap too.
Or watch I
do want to point out that we also got a picture-in-picture break during this match as well.
Oh, yeah. All right. So now that Andrew has lovingly reminded me the actual order of things. I love you, Andrew. Then we get into our main event. Trick Williams versus Noam Dar. This was really to keep Trick busy. I have no words of what I saw on my television.
Say it. It was shit.
It was bad. I was so upset. I was like, Noam Dar is better than this. Trick Williams didn't look great in this match.
I can honestly tell you, for the time that I've been watching NXT, I have never seen a match this bad. Like, it was sloppy. It was like, why are y'all even fighting? I don't even understand what's going on with it. I don't understand even why Noam Dar was in this ring with him. But yeah, this was crap on a cracker, man. I just
yeah.
Go ahead.
It felt like we were watching a match with no stakes and investment, just to have a match so Carmelo Hayes could show up at some point.
Yeah, which we all knew was going to happen. It was so predictable. Everything at the end of this was this whole episode was predictable, but I was just like, okay, so this is just a Carmelo Trick Williams setup. So we're just using Noam as basically a pawn. Like, he's just a tool. Well, he is a tool, but I mean, are we using him? I mean, is that it? Because if I was Noam, I'd be pissed. It's like, you're going to put me up against Trick Williams, and there's nothing at stake, really, other than, I'm going to take Trick down. Why? Like, what do you get out of it other than you get to say you won? I mean, but what do you get out of it? It's like it made no damn sense. I literally walked away on this one.
I feel like it would have been a better choice to put someone like Lexus King
Yes.
because he's at least someone who makes sense to pick a fight like that.
Yeah.
Andrew, didn't I just say this last week too? I said this. Oh my. This was bad, and I'm echoing what you said, Andrew. Like with Lexus, like literally, if you're gonna have Trick just have a match to keep busy, Lexus has somewhat of a history with Carmelo and Trick because of what happened, prior to all this, and we got the match between Carmelo and him at No Mercy. Lexus admits at No Mercy he did not attack Carmelo and Trick, but he got a pay-per-view match out of it. Like, Lexus and Trick would actually have been very entertaining. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, we can have this while we wait for Carmelo and Trick at Stand and Deliver. Super fantastic. I know they're dating in real life. I don't like that NXT is using Lash and Trick in this capacity. I was like, look, we know they are dating in real life, but there are ways to do it. And this is kind of just shoehorning it in just because people think it's fascinating. And don't get me wrong, Trick and Lash are a cute couple, but like it makes no sense story-wise to include this anywhere.
It makes it hard to believe that they're actually dating in real life because it feels so forced.
Yeah. It literally feels like a showmance and not like a real relationship.
So this wasn't an 11-minute match. Trick Williams picks up the victory here. I feel
duh.
Well, of course, duh. But at the same time, I was just like, I actually kind of feel bad for Noam Dar.
I feel horrible for him.
I do also want to say, okay, the finisher that he used for this was called the Trick Shot. How is it not called the Trick Knee?
I know, right? I know.
Anyway.
They don't have us writing for them. That's why.
Otherwise, they have better tag team names because of Andrew.
And they'd have some amazing women's championships. Just saying, putting that out in the universe.
Well, speaking of putting out things in the universe, so after Trick Williams wins against Noam Dar, he cuts a promo. And he basically says he's not waiting until Stand and Deliver. So he says, Carmelo Hayes, get your punk ass out here. And Carmelo's music hits. The security guards surround the ring. And, Trick is ready for it. But, oh no, one of the security guards is actually Carmelo. What? Blindsides Trick, attacks him, and Carmelo lays him out and stands above Trick, yelling at him as NXT goes off the air for this week.
It's like, who in the room is tired of all this? I'm just like... Funny thing is the security guards showed up and I went, Trick, he's behind you. He's behind you. It's
like watching a kid. It's like watching a kid show like Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer. Is like, where is Carmelo Hayes? Behind you.
He's right behind you. I'm like, which was obvious. I'm like, Trick, are you blind? I mean, seriously, when they were walking into that ring, I was like, there's Carmelo. I was literally like, there he is. And sure enough, he popped out.
The one
and was
that's
like,
smaller than all the rest.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
You could have at least gotten 4 guys that were like the same height.
Look, I know sometimes we gotta create adversity for our baby faces in these big pay-per-view matches, but I'm ready to retire like how dumb the baby faces end up being when it comes to fighting against these heels, because it's a wrestling trope that I hate so much. It was like, being a babyface robs you of your intelligence for some reason.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm like, it is 2024. If we understand that human beings are complicated and complex individuals, we should take some of that complexity into our wrestling characters and our tropes as well. And we need to update the book, so to speak. It is 2024. I understand that most promotions are run by white men, but like, come on now. I'm like, we got to update the book, because being a babyface in 2024 means that you have a low intelligence score a la D&D, which is not fun unless you play it in a fun way. Trust me, I played some low intelligence characters, and those are fantastic to play if you know what you're doing. But being a good guy means that you have no sense of intelligence in that little head of yours, and it's frustrating. And I'm still excited for Carmelo and Trick at Stand and Deliver, but just like every other build that we are doing so far for the pay-per-view, it is very lackluster. And I'm like, I don't want to keep seeing Trick get beat up every single week. And honestly, I'm kind of the same vein too. I don't want to see Carmelo get beat up by Trick either. Those two should be staying as far apart as possible, have a no contact clause where play some mind games. I miss when wrestling feuds had mind games in them. But everyone wants to beat up everyone, and I'm kind of tired of that trope. So, boys, this is a long episode, but we reached the end of this week's NXT. Oh my God. Let's go into our final rating, and then I'm gonna skip the housekeeping because I just want to go cry myself to sleep now of how disappointed I was with NXT this week. So I'm gonna go first. Normally, I am the center of positivity here on the Biconics. I try it. Like, it sounds really bad because I'm saying this about myself, but the other boys have told me this, so therefore it must be true if the other boys say this. I'm normally the optimistic one. I normally try to give everything a chance, and I try to see everything from the point of view as like, okay, well, not necessarily my favorite thing. I can see what they're going for, and we're just going to have to wait and see. No, optimistic Mikey is out the window for tonight because Mikey is angry, Mikey is disappointed, Mikey is depressed, and Mikey is PO'd because this was not a great week for NXT in general. And even though this is only really NXT is only the second show of the week that I watched so far, this is probably the worst wrestling that I have seen so far this week. That is saying a lot because the rest of the week has yet to come. I'm going to give this 4 out of 10 for me. As a weekly episode of NXT, this was bad. And you have a pay-per-view in 2 weeks, and you're almost making me not feel excited for Stand and Deliver. Like, the matches I think are going to be bangers. But the build to this, I'm like, again, I said it as a joke, but low-key, I might keep this as a deep dive, seeing what had the worst build, Stand and Deliver 2024 or Bound for Glory 2023 for TNA, because Lord have mercy. That pay-per-view was fire, but the build was, oh my gosh. I give this a 4 out of 10. I already critiqued the heck out of this. I don't need to go into why I give this a 4 out of 10, but I give this a 4 out of 10. And I'm going to go cry myself to sleep.
I don't even know if I can rate it.
Give it a 0.
I mean, it was... I could have not watched it and come on here and given you a better rendition of it. I mean, I'm literally like... It was literally shit on a shingle. I mean, it really was. And then it's a build episode. That's what I don't get. I don't understand. I don't think it built to anything other than my frustration.
And my cholesterol.
Yeah.
And my blood pressure.
I've got hives. But I mean, because I was so frustrated with it, I didn't like the episode at all. I mean, did it have some decent moments? Okay, yeah, sure. You know, because the wrestlers, they did what they were supposed to do. I can't diss them for it. You know,
I blame the writing and the bookers.
I mean, if you look at it from an episode standpoint of getting us to the next step for the big pay-per-view, I would literally give this a big O0 because I don't think it got us anywhere near Stand and Deliver. Now, if I had to look at it on the performers themselves, looking at the individual matches, then I could give it a higher rating because for like Roxanne's performance was great, even though I think that they wasted her time. The Soul, that was a great match. I mean, for the most part, well, not the most part, but the whole, you know, Axiom and Nathan Frazier, their whole thing was a knockout of the park. You know, I think that. And then there's the promo moments that were kind of fun and added to the sort of got rid of the bitterness in my mouth a little bit. And so I can't diss the performers, you know, because they did the best with what they had. And so I had to give them a rating, I'd give them like a 6, 7, just for being good sports. But overall, I mean, this is crap. I mean, this is probably the worst episode of NXT I have ever watched.
Since joining.
And we got the ones before Hard to Kill, or was it Bound for Glory? I mean, which were
that was a rough time for Impact and NXT in general, because
all that. Yeah, I mean, it was like whatever
the
I can't remember what it was
the build to Deadline for NXT was also really hard to watch. That's too.
I'm sorry, I get them all mixed up because we do too many of these. This is horrible. This is probably the worst NXT episode I've ever watched. Truly. From a production standpoint and a storytelling standpoint. Well, there was no storytelling, so I mean, truly, there wasn't. It literally, the episode didn't take us anywhere other than to frustration land.
So me and Will has spoken. Andrew.
Yeah, so I'll stop now.
So I give this a 5. It would have been higher. Normally, I grade mostly on the points that I give to the matches, because that's where my primary focus is. If that was the case, this would have been an 8 for me, but I could not disclude the promos and all of the structure of the show from this ranking, so this gets a 5. NXT is too often like promo heavy. It's not well paced. It sometimes feels like they're trying to tell too much or feel the need to hit us over the head with exposition. This episode had 18 promos in it and 6 matches. So that means 3/4 of this episode were promos. And 5 of the 6 matches that we got had commercials and or promos in the middle of like parts of them. And none of those promos were anything to do with the matches that they were interrupting. So you were literally taking us out of one story to tell us another part of a story that had nothing to do with that one that was going on. You're killing the momentum, and this included a title match, a title contention match, and the main event that this all happened to. 3 things that should be super important and not be interrupted. I get it if you're gonna like do a picture-in-picture for this other non-title match or whatever, or interrupt this other match with a commercial break or something, because you had to save the time that you're not gonna do that for your super important matches. But they did it to those matches that should mean something, which makes them feel even less important. So then where's my investment in this? And that's not including the picture-in-picture moments and the like promos and everything else that interrupted all of these things. Some of the matches were phenomenal. Like Will said, the Sol Ruka, Brynlin Reese match was awesome. The tag team match with Axiom and Frazier versus No Quarter Catch Crew was actually my match of the night for the tag team action that we got. I liked how vicious Perez was in her matchup. Even though it was quick, I thought it told the story that we need to see with what they could do with her. But the overall structure, layout, and pacing of this entire program, it just took away from everything. It just brought the show down so much that it didn't get me excited. It especially did get me excited for when you had to interrupt NXT programming to remind me again of what's happening with WWE. And it's like, you're already taking me away from what's happening with other things in NXT. Now you're going to try and sell me this other product because that's your primary focus. I get it, whatever. But I felt like I was watching a YouTube video that just kept having ad breaks in the middle of it. And I was just like, cool, I'm really into, okay, now I've got to sit through this. Where's the skip button? And it just made me more irritated than entertained. It was something that I was like, if this is how NXT keeps building their programming week by week, then it makes me not want to watch and be invested in the product, which is a shame because, like I said, the NXT performers, the ones that are there every week that are busting their asses in this situation, they're not getting used properly. They're not getting the time that they should. And when they do get the time, it's put into a place where it's sacrificing somebody else's story, or it's making it harder to enjoy the story that we are getting to see. And it's such a bummer because there are some really great talent in NXT. And it's talent that isn't going to get shown the same way that they're going to get shown when they leave NXT and go to someplace like Raw or SmackDown. They're going to just get folded into that machine. They're going to use maybe for a little bit of hype, and then they're just not going to get shown the same way that they should get shown, that they get shown at NXT. And I feel like they're just doing them such a huge disservice. And this show, it just really was the epitome of the way that NXT and in overall WWE handles these shows.
Well, we made it to the end. Boys, I appreciate you going on a long one because we had a lot to talk about in terms of how frustrated we were this episode. I'm too depressed to do the normal housekeeping stuff. I'm just sad, which is really weird to say because we watch like telenovela wrestling on our screens every single week. But dang it, I'm so invested in our performers and the stories that we're trying to tell with them. Like, I'm so sad, but for all you BC WrestlePod nerds, thank you for tuning into a very long episode of NXT. We will be back next week to review the semi go home show. So it will be the last show before the go home show because we're 2 weeks out from Stand and Deliver. So hopefully they fix a lot of their stuff before then. We shall see what happens with that. But from myself, Will, and the rest of the BC WrestlePod boys, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic. You deserve to finish your story. And please check in with your wrestling fans, please, because sometimes we just get really sad by what we watch on television. So check on each other. We will see you next week, but we're going to get on out of here. Ta-ta for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.